Well, I must say, this is an absolute pleasure to be talking to Roshani. Good afternoon, Roshani.
Rusty, how are
Hey,
ya?
look, I'm very well, thank you. I'm absolutely stoked to speak to you because I've not had the
Oh,
opportunity before, and I've heard your songs, and I've heard Peter Noble, our director, absolutely raving about your voice, which is dead set true. But it's lovely to be able to
oh.
talk to you and be able to introduce you to our audience a bit more by asking you lots of really difficult questions.
Awesome.
Are you ready?
I think so.
Cool. All right. Well, here's an easy one for starters. What's the population of Sydney?
Oh, shit, who knows? I don't know.
All
I
right.
gotta get my thinking cap on.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I'd like to take you back to where did it all start, Roshani? When did you realize you had a voice? Someone gave you a guitar or a set of drums or whatever it was. What
Mm.
started you off and when?
Well, the moment that I can really, that sticks out to me the most is I was sat in front of the television as a 6-year-old in my flannelette PJs, eating my Vegemite toast, and Whitney Houston's face came on Rage on Saturday morning. And she was singing I Will Always Love You because The Bodyguard had just been out. And so that was, and I don't know, something clicked in me. I heard her voice and I was just like mesmerized by the power of it. And I then sang that song non-stop to my parents' like annoyance, I'm sure. Just trying to practice every single inflection and run and stuff. And I remember it feeling really good to sing. So that's the moment that stands out to me the most. And then it kind of, like I grew up in Tamworth. So I was
Yes.
surrounded by music. My dad was a drummer in a country rock band, and so I remember going to bars and pubs and stuff as a 5-year-old, like dancing to his music and seeing my dad up on stage and stuff. And it was kind of, I don't know, it's almost like some kind of prophecy that is just being fulfilled. It was like it was always there. It was a seed that was always meant to be, nourished. So yeah, that's kind of where it kicked off.
Yep.
Yeah,
So then, obviously, you then sort of went through school and stuff. But had you
yeah.
decided? When did you decide? Okay, okay, I can sing. I've got a guitar now. I don't really want to sort of do go anywhere career-wise except in music.
Yeah, look, I think the moment that I was like, I want to do this was quite early on too. I remember being like growing up with the country music festival. You see a lot of music, but the thing that stuck out to me the most is my uncle took me to, it's like 1994, and I remember a packed theatre in Tamworth, and Charlie Daniels was playing, and he had a special guest, and that special guest was Keith Urban, and they duelled on "The Devil Went Down to Georgia." And I remember being a 7-year-old and just seeing the incredible power that they had to move a room full of people, just to like raucous behavior and thunderous applause. And I was just like, man, I just remember it clicking and going, I want to do that. And that's what a musician has the power to be able to do. And it just stuck with me. So I think that was when I decided that I wanted to follow music as a career. And I'd always sung, like I was a music theatre kid. I did heaps of that kind of stuff. And I've been on a couple of bloody reality TV shows, singing shows, competitions, but I really didn't start my apprenticeship as a musician until about 4 years ago. So I'm kind of like a late bloomer in terms of being a musician. I only really started playing guitar 4 years ago, and that coupled with starting to busk. So busking was like my pathway into learning how to play instruments. And so that's been this kind of incredible full-on adventure for the past, 4 or 5 years, is learning how to play guitar and learning how to loop and putting myself out there busking, which is where Peter Noble saw me playing solo for the first time anyway. So yeah, it's kind of cool.
Yeah. Can you recall your first day of busking? Is that etched in your memory?
Oh, it was dreadful. It was so scary. I was so scared. We were playing out the front of a closed up shop in DY, and my husband and I, he's a musician as well, and we lived in our van traveling around the East Coast for about 3 years. We sold our house and moved into our van, and we were busking together. But the first time I picked up a guitar, he's like, "Come on, it's time to do it. You're going to pick up a guitar and give it a go." I literally strummed 3 chords and started shaking and just cried and was like, I'm never going to do that again. That was too crazy. And this is like, I'd performed in being a kid, going through all the music theatre stuff and the talent development project. I'd sung in the Sydney Entertainment Centre in front of 15,000 people, but that was just singing. But to play in front of a closed up shop in the middle of the street with a guitar and just playing it myself was just terrifying. And so it took a lot of courage to just keep like doing it until I got to the stage where I was, being able to put myself out there as a solo artist. But yeah. It's definitely etched in my memory.
I think that's a great story, because it's like anything when you do it for the first time. You're never going to be 100%, but to admit to that, if you like, stage fright, but then to work through it, it gives hope to anyone listening to this now that is going, oh, I'd love to busk, but I don't have the courage. If you could say something to say a young girl of say 15 or 16 or whatever, who's going, I'd love to busk, but I'm scared. What do you say to her?
You've just got to work through it. You've got to be scared, and if you cry and you break down, that's great, because the next time it's going to be a little bit easier, and the next time after that a little bit easier again, and pretty soon you'll have people start coming up and wanting to buy your album, and you'll have people coming up and saying, "Hey, that song really moved me," and they'll have tears in their eyes, and they'll want to hug you. And they'll say, "Listening to you today made my day." And then it grows from there, and you start to remove the nerves or the ego side of it out, and you start to realize that, that music is service. And if you have a gift, then you're in service of that gift, and sharing it with people is what you have to do.
Yeah. And of course you're a songwriter as well. When did you start? When you go, oh, hang on a minute, I can write something that's better than that. How did that start? How did that side of it come about?
I've always been into, reading and poetry and things like that. So I was always writing poetry as a kid growing up, and it just kind of developed. Like I did play piano as a kid. Like I got piano lessons and stuff. So I was always dabbling, but I never had a true focus for it. So I was always writing little bits and pieces and writing little poems. But the real songwriting started when I met my husband, and we started traveling around, and the songs just started flowing out. The more I learnt, it kind of works like this. Whenever I learnt a new chord on the guitar, I would write a song because the new kind of sonic landscape would inspire new melodies and new stories. And so it was like each time I developed as a musician, another set of songs would kind of fall out. So, yeah.
Well, that's motivation enough, isn't it? Learn a chord, write a song.
Write a song,
learn a chord. But that's good. And you've mentioned your husband a couple of times as being your soulmate, and as someone who you traveled around with, and he's obviously been a help in sort of keeping you, like bringing you to the fore, as you say, making you, not making you pick up the guitar and play in public, but sort of pushing you to go, you're good enough to do this. You are good enough, to give you that support.
he's an extraordinary, encouraging, amazing man, and I owe so much to him, really, because he just had faith in me when I didn't. I just told a really shitty story about, like, no, I'm just a singer, and, you know, I didn't get lessons on guitar, so who am I to think that I can go out there and play in front of people and write songs and have people think that it's a good thing, you know? Like, and he's like, what are you talking about? Just bloody do it, you know? You're a musician, like, you're a musician with your voice, so you can learn guitar and you can do this, and as much as my show is a solo act, like, I get up on stage on my own, but it's a duo act behind the scenes. Like, he's the absolute backbone of everything that we do, and yeah, so it's definitely a team. We work as a team, and that's what's been awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you thought, or in recent times, as you say, it's you out the front, but he is a guitarist as well. Have you ever thought that one day you would like to expand from the solo and loops into a full band situation, or a 3 or 4 piece situation?
Yeah, definitely, for sure. And I think for me, being a solo artist first has been good, because I've learnt what I like and what I'm more leaning towards sonically, and letting my influences and my kind of eclectic taste just kind of give me this, I don't know, this kind of foundation, if you will, so that I feel like this is setting me up to be a leader if I was to, say, take on a band at a later stage. Like, but before learning instruments and stuff, I would have had no idea. It would have been somebody else being the musical director, and then it's a little bit different then, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think definitely down the track that could be the case. I'm not sure if I'm ready for that yet, but yeah, I mean, I'd love to have a huge big band with a horn section and, like, singers, like the whole thing. So, pyrotechnics.
Of course.
We'll see.
Of course. Can I sort of bring up something now, sort of staying on your songwriting and stuff, because you've got, is it two EPs and an album now? You've just Deep was the latest album that came out, didn't it?
Yeah.
Can I stay on that? A few years ago, that it's well documented that you reunited with your family after an exceptionally long time. Is it okay for me to bring that up here?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it was televised at the time. 60 Minutes covered it, and because you were, well, I'll let you explain what happened and how you came to reunite with your family after a long time.
Well, so yeah, like, I'm adopted, and I basically, my Aussie mum was diagnosed with bowel cancer, and so she was quite sick for a long time. During that time, she was like, I think that you should retrace your roots, and she really, really encouraged me to do that. That was something that she really felt strongly about, and I didn't really feel that way at the time, but now I understand why she was doing that. And the freaky thing is that so she passed away, and maybe 3-4 years after that, it would have been her 63rd birthday, and I got the phone call from the private investigator that we'd hired to say that he'd found my Sri Lankan birth mother on my Aussie mum's birthday. So it was pretty amazing synergy there, and kind of synchronicity. And so, yeah, that was after a good, years of having that guy out there trying to find them. And then he found them, and yeah, they said, let's meet up. So that was pretty crazy, because it's like 28, I was 28 at the time, so 28 years of basically, when you're adopted, you kind of imagine that, I think it's easier to imagine that they don't exist. I know that sounds strange, but to deal with it emotionally, I think that's what you do. But then whoa, here's a whole Sri Lankan tribe that's your family. It's pretty amazing. And then 60 Minutes came on board to tell the story because we felt like it was such an uplifting and emotional story, and there's a lot of adoptees it's a story that doesn't get told a lot.
Yeah.
And it was really incredible. So yeah, it was life changing, and I think I'm still processing it emotionally. And it definitely comes out in my songwriting.
I was about to say,
So
my next question was then, has that changed your, not method of songwriting, but sometimes the meaning of life that's in the songs, and the emotion that comes with songwriting and composing?
for sure, it's always been, I think, being adopted too, and growing up in a, like, I don't know if I could say this, but like a predominantly white community. Like, there was nobody that looked like me, and there was no one that looked like me that had white parents. So, like, I was unique, and so I was always going, well, we're different, but we're family. Like, love is across all, you know, all things here, and I think that I was always interested in the existential question of, like, well, what does this all mean? Like, you know, and it definitely feeds into my songwriting. I'm definitely philosophical about the idea of what is relationship and what is love, and what's the real depth of our human experience. And reconnecting with my family has brought up a whole bunch of other stuff that's like, well, what is identity, and the labels that we put on ourselves, like what do they really mean, and do they limit us? So the thing that I found going back to Sri Lanka and meeting my family, like the dialogue around that is like, oh, you must be going back to fill a void that is missing. But when I came back from Sri Lanka, I realized that I was still the same person. Yes, I was, I think, emotionally enriched from the experience, obviously, but at the innate core of who I was the same. So it was like, man, like, I've spent 28 years thinking that I was, like, I don't know, damaged in some way, like that I had some hole that I had to fill, but it's like, no, you're all right. You're all right from the beginning. So it's, I don't know, it's very emotional, and it's it's juicy stuff to draw from.
Well, you then came out with your album Deep, which is your latest one. And just from my perspective here, the word I would like to use is richer in production. You've got some really beautiful little songs of lightness, like Wings, and then you've got like the really sort of rock fused Martyr, and Hear Me Now, which is almost a gospel chant from the fields. I find that you're maturing in your songwriting now. Do you feel that? Do you find it that the different styles come easy, or do you have to bang your head on the wall sometimes?
No, without a doubt. And I think it is driven by the fact that I'm becoming a better guitar player and a better musician over time, just from the fact of doing it. And it's a numbers game. Like, I've just written more songs, so the songs are becoming more direct and more deeper and more mature. I definitely feel that. And I think that would happen with any musician as you grow and you mature as a person emotionally, philosophically. Your poetry is going to deepen as well. But I also feel a lot freer. Like, I just kind of let it flow. Like, sometimes songs, this sounds weird, Rusty, but it's like, I don't even see it as songwriting. Sometimes I feel like it's song capturing. It's like they float in some kind of dimension that you can't see, and you get this kind of, this whisper of inspiration, and you follow those breadcrumb trail of inspiration until the fully formed thing is written on a notepad in front of you and you're playing it. And it's that's what I love about songwriting, is that catching that momentary spark of inspiration, and then it kind of falling out of the sky, and then you getting to discover it. And then some songs are definitely like something emotional is really going on, and you really have to tell that story in a cathartic way, and that's how I deal with emotional shit that's going on in my life. And in terms of genre, like I feel so, and it's something that always freaks me out, because I've been told by music managers and people in the business, they say, find your lane and stick to it. And that always felt uncomfortable to me, because I'm like, but I like this, and then I like folk, and I like country, and I like heavy rock, and I like blues, and I like R&B and soul and gospel. And I see music more like of an open thing, that genres are more like colors in a paint palette. Like you wouldn't always want to paint with the same color, you know? So they're just different ways of being able to synthesize a story and bring it to life. So yeah.
Cool. Well,
Yeah,
that's the deep stuff out the way. We're looking forward to seeing you at Bluesfest here, Roshani. I don't know whether you've had a chance to look at the lineup. Is there a couple of people in the cast that you're looking forward to catching up with because you haven't seen them for a while, or just going, yeah, I want to go see these?
Everybody. I wish I could see everybody. Honestly, like Bluesfest is for an upcoming artist, for a new artist. But I just see it as any artist in Australia. The Bluesfest stage is the pinnacle. Like to me personally, it is the pinnacle stage to stand on. To be on that poster for 3 times in a row is like, it's mind blowing to me. I'm just blown away to be on a bill with some of the artists there. Like I'm super stoked. I really can't wait to see what Tash does with a band.
Exactly.
I think that's going to be super interesting, because I think as a musical director, Tash, I just can't wait to see the way it works, you know, and what they put out there. Yeah, like there's heaps. I can't wait to see Troy Cassar-Daley, because he's just such a darling, and it's just such a beautiful entertainer and such an incredible storyteller. Lambros, they're dudes that are from the Northern Beaches in Sydney, and I see them busking. We busk in the Manly Corso together, so they're kind of like lads that I know from around here. And I grew up listening to the Black Sorrows. The album Hold On To Me was like our family car album that we just play over and over and over again. So I can't wait to see them. They're amazing. But yeah, it's hard to choose. You know, I'm going to have to get out my little highlighter and schedule and just...
Well, you've got you haven't got long there. You haven't got long to do that, but we certainly look forward to seeing you strutting your stuff at Bluesfest in not that long, just a few weeks from now, Roshani.
I know.
Thank you for your time, and thank you for allowing us to sort of delve into your mind and your brain about your music. Thank you.
Oh,